Welcome to Cozy Reading Club, the podcast where we read the book and tell you about it so you don't have to.
Good to be back.
So last time, if you remember that truce between the Trojans and the Greeks, it completely went sideways.
Yeah, spectacularly so.
Pandarus, pushed by Athena or Minerva for the Romans. He lets fly an arrow at Menelaus, and that was pretty much the end of any peace.
Bang. Truce over.
Exactly. The fighting kicked off again big time. We saw Agamemnon really stepping up as a leader. Nestor giving that, wise old advice he does.
Always Nestor.
And Diomedes. Wow. He was just tearing it up. Even managed to wound Aphrodite Venus and Ares Mars.
With a bit of help from Athena, mind you.
Oh, definitely divine intervention there. So yeah, things were pretty chaotic. Gods, mortals, everyone involved.
That whole scene really just ramps up the tension perfectly for what we're covering today, books 11 and 12.
Okay, so book 11, where do we start? The fighting picks up again the next morning.
Right. And Agamemnon is, he's still absolutely dominant, just relentless.
He's cutting through Trojans like nobody's business. Takes down Bianor, Oileus, just name after name.
It's a real showcase of his power. What scholars sometimes call an aristeia, a hero's big moment on the battlefield.
Like his moment of glory. It really shows how one person's skill could, shift the whole feel of the battle. Temporarily, anyway.
Exactly. Temporarily is the key word, because even Agamemnon isn't invincible.
Nope. Just when you think he's unstoppable, bam. He gets wounded by Kun, who's Antenor's son.
A serious enough wound that he has to leave the field.
Which is huge. Because suddenly the Greeks' main leader is out. And you see the impact immediately, don't you?
You really do. As soon as Agamemnon withdraws, Hector just surges forward. You can feel the Trojan morale lift.
Yeah, the whole Trojan attack gets way more intense. It really puts the pressure back on the Achaeans.
It shows how much depends on these key figures, their presence or absence.
But the Greeks, they don't just fold. Diomedes and Odysseus, they're still in the thick of it, fighting like mad.
True heroes. And Diomedes even manages to wound Hector.
Right. Which you'd think might slow Hector down, but no.
He's incredibly resilient. But then, Paris enters the scene.
Ugh, Paris. Not exactly known for frontline bravery, is he?
Not typically, no. But he gets involved here and manages to shoot Diomedes in the foot with an arrow.
Takes Diomedes out of the fight too, right?
Well, it certainly hampers him significantly, and suddenly Odysseus finds himself fighting pretty much alone, surrounded.
Talk about a bad situation. Completely outnumbered.
But Odysseus being Odysseus, he puts up an incredible fight, takes down several Trojans before he himself gets wounded.
Just showing that classic Odysseus grit and skill. Even wounded, he's dangerous.
Absolutely. His mental toughness is just as important as his fighting skill.
And then, just when things look really dire for the Greeks, we see Nestor again.
But he's not charging in himself this time. He does something arguably more important.
Yeah, he focuses on getting Machaon, one of their key healers, off the battlefield safely.
Which is so crucial. Losing a skilled medic like Machaon would be a massive blow to the Achaean army's ability to, keep fighting.
It really highlights those support roles, doesn't it? It's not all about the starfighters.
Definitely not. And Nestor's action has this unexpected consequence.
Because Achilles sees it happen, still sulking in his tent. But he sees Nestor carrying the wounded Machaon.
And he gets curious, or maybe concerned. He sends Patroclus to find out who was injured.
Just a small thing, sending Patroclus to ask a question. But it's the first domino falling. Huge implications later.
Exactly. It puts Patroclus right where Nestor can talk to him.
And Nestor doesn't miss the chance, does he?
Not at all. Wise old Nestor urges Patroclus, go talk to Achilles, get him back in the fight.
But he knows Achilles. Stubborn as anything.
So he offers plan B. If Achilles won't fight, maybe Patroclus should put on Achilles' famous armor and go out there himself.
The idea being that the sight of the armor alone might scare the Trojans.
Precisely. A psychological tactic. Which, as we know, sets up some major tragedy down the line.
Okay, so that's book 11. A real back and forth, fortunes changing constantly. Now, book 12, the Trojans are really pressing their advantage.
Yes, book 12 shifts focus. The Trojans are now attacking the main Achaean defenses, the wall they built.
And this isn't just some little fence. It's a serious fortification, right?
Yeah.
High wall, towers.
And a big ditch in front of it, designed specifically to stop attackers, especially chariots.
And it works, initially. The Trojans in their chariots are struggling to get across that ditch.
It really bogs them down. This is where Polydamas steps in with some actual strategy.
He's usually the voice of reason among the Trojans, isn't he?
Often, yes. And here he suggests something practical. Ditch the chariots, attack on foot. It's the only way to effectively cross the ditch.
Smart thinking, adapting to the terrain.
But not everyone listens to the smart guy.
Of course not. There's always one, Asius in this case.
Asius, yeah. He ignores Polydamas, tries to charge the ditch with his chariot anyway.
How does that work out for him?
About as well as you'd expect. He gets bogged down, faces heavy fire from the wall, and, well, Idomeneus kills him.
So a lesson there about ignoring good advice, maybe?
Yeah.
Hubris, perhaps?
Definitely a bit of heroic pride getting in the way of sensible tactics.
But Hector actually listens to Polydamas this time.
He does. He gets the Trojans to dismount and leads the foot soldiers in a mass assault on the wall.
And this is where things get really bad for the Greeks. Because Hector does something incredible.
He finds this massive boulder, one that, the text says 2 ordinary men couldn't even lift.
Right.
And he hefts it, runs towards one of the main gates, and just smashes it down.
Unbelievable strength. He literally breaks down the gate.
Yeah, shatters the hinges, the bars, everything. The way is open.
So the end of Book 12. The Achaean wall is breached. Hector is leading the Trojans inside the Greek camp.
It's a massive turning point. The Greeks are trapped behind their broken defenses. Many of their best fighters are wounded, or, like Achilles, just absent.
Things look incredibly grim for them. Are they done for? Will Achilles finally put aside his anger? Or is this the beginning of the end for the Greeks?
The momentum has completely shifted. The Trojans are pouring in, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
Well, that was Cozy Reading Club for this deep dive into books 11 and 12 of the Iliad.
A lot happened there.
It really did. Join us next time to find out what happens next.
This was Cozy Reading Club, the podcast where we read the book and tell you about it so you don't have to. If you like this series, we invite you to take a look at other series in our podcast and leave a nice review on the platform you are listening this on.